Hi friends, it's Jenny, and I am going to be making a Delft Blue inspired necklace tonight. Now this is because the Didi's Deluxe bead box for the month of November is Royal Delft, and this is what it was inspired by. I'm going to be using several things that she included in this kit. I am also pulling some things in from my stash, but I have this right here. This is about 6 years ago. My husband and I went on a trip to Europe and we did visit Amsterdam, and one of the things that I loved was all these beautiful houses along the canals, but also I remember walking through this tunnel that was entirely covered in Delft Blue tiles and things like that. And so when we decided on getting a little keepsake to bring home, we chose a porcelain magnet, because that's what we do, magnets for everywhere that we travel. But we chose one that that showed some of the things that we loved about Amsterdam, but was actually in that Delft blue, that iconic Delft blue that was developed by the Dutch. So it was developed by the Dutch in response to China. It was made to be more accessible to more people, so it wasn't just the wealthy that could have it. And they did the blue and white patterning on earthenware, stoneware type dishes that, you know, were more accessible to everybody, rather than the fine Chinese porcelain that was imported. And so that's what these are inspired by, these beads right here. And I am leaning into the floral side. Very, like, there's a lot of different patterns. Sometimes it's city scenes, like that Amsterdam magnet that I got, but also sometimes it's like windmills, and but a lot of them have like floral patterns or motifs, especially centered around like one large focal floral. So I got into my stash and I'm trying to see if I can get this to brighten up a little bit and show you. I don't know how well this is going to show you, but this is lapis lazuli. I think that the camera is making it record just a little bit too dark. It actually does have that really nice royal blue, especially through this center right here. And then we've got the pyrite inclusions as well. I don't know if I can, that's just making it shine in the light. I don't know if I can actually get it to show the color, but I'm gonna try. But it is like that dark blue, and it is a floral focal that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna be doing my double beaded bail. I know I just did that last month with Didi's Deluxe bead box, and I do it often with a lot of things. It's kind of a signature. I'm bringing in from the collection this strand of, I think these are, yeah, these are porcelain. Blue peony flower porcelain bead mix. And I'm going to be using several of these. I think I haven't decided if I'm going to make earrings tonight or not, but we're definitely using this from the collection. We're using these gorgeous white hexagon cut crystal beads. I just think they're beautiful and they catch the light so nice. And a lot of Delft Blue porcelain and pottery is heavy on the white, and then the design is in the blue. So I don't want to have all my beads be dark blue. So I'm also adding in from my stash some bicones that have a very similar finish to the hexagonal beads. So we're gonna have that. I also got from my stash a blue seed bead mix, so we can bring in some of those mid-tone blues as well, that you can see here in the porcelain strand. And then we've got these blue tourmaline, and these are very, very dark. They're very dark navy blue. So we're going to be using some of those. And then only a little bit brighter, we've got these smaller, let's see, these are the 4mm Montana blue AB crystals. So they're pretty dark too. So that's why I wanted to use the seed beads to kind of bring in some of those mid-tones, and adding some whites with these rondelles. So those are what I'm bringing in from my stash, and the pendant, because I decided to do a floral pendant to lean into that design. So this is inspired by the Delft Blue pottery that comes from the Netherlands. So I'm going to be using dark blue lapis, because I'm using a blue lapis carved rose to string on. I'm going to be making my double beaded veil loop. I thought that it would be really fun to bring in those lighter colors right away. So we're going to use a combination of some of these mid-tone blues and these rondelles to create the strands for our loop. And we're going to use one of these crystals. This one does have a wide enough hole to get 3 passes of my beading wire. That's important when you do the double beaded veil loop. And I'll show you how I do that. You may not have seen me do it before. It is something that I do often, kind of a signature, but it's also often a really good solution for things. So I just pulled the wire off the mat and put it around my neck and estimated a length, and then I'm adding some because I'm using some of this wire to create the veil, so it'll be doubled back a couple of times through this, as well as making sure I have enough room to crimp. I probably made this a little bit too long, so I'm going to tell you how long it is now, and then we'll see how much I cut in scrap later. So if you wanted to make a similar necklace, this one is, just trying to get this on here, it is about not quite 34 inches, which is probably too long, and that's okay. I don't mind having scrap. I use them to make earrings. I use some scrap of dark blue lapis to check to make sure that I could get 3 passes through this beading wire. Let me get these guys undone too, because we're definitely going to need these. So let's get them off the strand. Oh, that must have been doubled. It was through it twice. It's fine. Here we go. 3 times? Oh yeah, that's like very securely on there. I probably should have just cut it, but I would have had to unwrap that like 3 times anyway. So yeah, that bead's not coming undone or going anywhere. So we have some 6 millimeters, and then we have some squatty rice beads, kind of an oval shape, but they're a rounded oval. And then we've got 3 that are shaped like flowers. So I am probably, if I do make earrings, I'm probably going to use a couple of the flower beads. And so if I use the flower beads, that only leaves 1, which means I can't use it on both sides. So each side is going to get an oval and some of the little 6 millimeters. I'm just kind of dividing it up a little bit. I've already divided these crystals. Yeah. Okay, now I need to play around with this. So here is the hole. It's actually fairly close to the top of this pendant, so we don't need a whole lot of room on the bail before the bead, but we are using a large bead. So that's part of how we're going to figure out how much we want to do. And I was going to use the bicones, but I think the bicones are too big for what we want to do here. So if I want this here and not terribly like long, then I'm probably going to just be using seed beads for this. But I do have, yeah, we'll pour out these. These are 11-0 seed beads, 11-0 seed bead mix. And I want to see how they look on the strand, because these are kind of a frosted white instead of a truly opaque white. So I kind of want to see how they look. Like if we have a couple of the white ones and then one of these silver lined blues and a dark one, silver lined, let's see, do I like this pattern? I think I like that pattern. That makes 7 beads. And then our crystal, that is going to be our decorative top bead. And then these, I'm going to test it in the pendant and see how it looks. So 2 of the white, 1 silver line that's kind of a frosted blue. There's also like a translucent blue that I'm skipping. And then a dark blue, frosted silver lined. And you can use whatever beads you have or bead mix for this. Like I said, this was something from my stash. So I'm moving all of these beads. It's a total of 15 beads, 7 seed beads, the central bead, and then 7 seed beads. And I am going to put it through the front of my front drilled pendant, like this. And I'm just going to pull it. Sticks a little bit. See if I need a little bit more. See, I need a little bit more. See how much wire is showing here? That means that with how wide this bead is, it needs just a little bit more. So I'm going to pull this back out and we're going to change this order a little bit. I think it only needs like 1 more bead on each side. So I think, actually, let's try this. Let's try, since this will go right up against the white bead, let's try one of those matte silver line seed beads on each side and see how that looks. Oh, this is not actually going to be there. Nope, it's going to be, okay. Here's what I was trying to do with it. Let me back this out. So I'm pulling off the bead. I'm adding a silver lined and then the top bead. And then doing that again. I'm putting the silver lined next to the top bead. I was mixed up when I did it before. So do that one. This, and then these 2. I want the white ones against the dark blue lapis, which is what is on the end. So I'll show you here in just a moment. I'm just adjusting this. Okay, so now what we've got here, so this part is going to be what is coming out of your pendant. This part is going to be the top of your bail. So I'm kind of holding it wrong side for you to see. It's going to be like this coming out of your pendant. And I am going to, just so I have a little bit more space and I don't have to redo the whole thing all over again, I think I am going to go ahead and add those mid-tone blues to this side too. Okay, so they're going to be against the crystal bead as well as against the dark blue lapis. Let's see how that goes. So I'm just evening these out, both ends of my wire, putting them through. And this is kind of a tight hole, this one that I'm using. That is something else you want to make sure of, that you can get that through pretty easily. But it does mean that it's going to hold really well once we've got it. So now we've got a little bit bigger bail, and we do still have some of the wire showing, but not as much. And I think I like that proportion next to the pendant. So I'm going to continue this. So now we're going to string the same number of seed beads. So now we've got, because we added 2 to each side, we've actually got 9 seed beads on either side of this center focal bead. So I'm going to just do the same order for the seed beads as I did before, which is mid-tone white twice, and then mid-tone dark blue, mid-tone, 2 white ones, and another mid-tone. And this is going to bring in a lot of the colors that we've got in these porcelain beads. So, okay, so we've got those 9 beads on this side of the wire. And we're just going to take this wire and we're going to feed it through this hole in the crystal. Like I said, I did get it to all fit before. It can sometimes be really snug, so hopefully everything will be fine. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So the 9 seed beads in the order that I decided. Which was mid, white, white, mid, dark, white, white, mid. I do wish these were a little bit brighter white seed beads, but I don't want like, I might have some stark white ones in my old stash, but they're not going to be very uniform. And I think that this is still going to be pretty. A little bit stripey, but I think it's going to fit once we start putting everything else on. So then where this wire is coming out, we're going to cross this one through. So we go in on each side and we end up with 1 wire on either side of the bail, and we just give it a good little tug. And this is our lapis with a double beaded bail loop with a decorative top bead. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm gonna go ahead and get out a little bead stopper. It doesn't usually work loose, but I prefer not to risk it, and so I do use a bead stopper on one end while I figure out my stringing pattern on the other. So I'll just put a bead stopper here. What do you think? I think that's pretty, and I like that we're using some beads that bring out some of those midtones. So yeah, there were some midtones in like the check strand and stuff, but they were a different shape, and since I'm going very floral with this, this was an easier, unobtrusive way to put that in. So now this is really just playing with the beads. I'm going to spot a few more of these seed beads and then put the top on this so that I don't spill my beads. And I have the same mix in 8-0, so I'm going to go ahead and spill out some of those as well, in case I decide that I want to do that in the pattern. So I love to use seed beads as spacers. I did consider some of the like silver spacers and stuff like that, but I really want to focus on the blues and grays, or the blues and whites. Sorry, I said that because I noticed there's grays in this mix. So it's a very similar mix, but it does have some grays in it that the 11-0s didn't have. But that's okay. I'm just going to ignore the grays. One of the things that I like to do when I finish a bail, see how you can see the wire coming out through the top there? I like to put on at least 1 seed bead that matches the top seed bead that I have there, so that it gets a little bit more finished look. And then I continue beading from there. So I think we'll kind of play around with some of these different sizes. And the different beads. I want to do because a lot of the alternating white and blue, I'll probably do a little bit more color blocking. This feels like it's too quick. But let me get a few beads on here and kind of just play with the spacing of everything. So it's possible that we go, no, let's get, I think that mid blue might be something that we use to kind of step from color to color, but I want to see how that looks. So I did a white bicone and then the faceted round, and then heading into one of the is that too much? This is like I said, I play with the beads. I design on the strand, so I'm kind of seeing what we like here. Considering coming out of this pattern, I'm gonna come back, step that back down out of this. I think I want to change the order a little bit. I think I'm going to swap because they're very similar size. They're both 4mm, the bicones and the round. And I think I'm going to adjust that so that it does alternate the color a little bit more. Like I said, it might look a little stripy. I might change my mind, but I need to see it in order to know if I like it or not. I also have some bead caps I considered using to add in some silver. I might play around with that, but right now I'm not intending on using them. So I think that's a little bit better. Doing the tourmaline, blue tourmaline. I might have called it dolomite. I have some blue dyed dolomite off to the side that I used in another design recently that does actually go really well with this, but I only want to bring it in if we need it because I do want to use most of these beads being from the collection that Stella put together at Didi Beads. I really enjoyed this. I had wanted to do more earlier in the month, but this month was a bit crazy for me. This is probably going to change, and I probably need to do that sooner rather than later because I don't like this, but I do like this. This is a little bit too chaotic and too close to where we already did a lot of that stuff really close together. So I'm backing this off, and I'm going to take out those 8/0 seed beads that I had put in. I may not use them at all, and just get some more of these just to get a little space here. So we'll do like a small grouping of 3. This looks simpler coming away from the bail. And then we'll do this series of dark and white, because I do want it to feel like a pattern, you know, like the patterns that you see here, the patterns that you see if you look up other pictures of Delft Blue, especially some of the, you know, the classic stuff that has been around. Kind of want to have this work out well for us. And then I'm going to be doing a porcelain bead after I come back out of this because I do want to include those. I'll probably be doing the ovals soon so that, because I like to wear my necklace so it's a little bit, just a touch below my collar. And if I have it that way, then I think that I'll have this placed so that these will be like at my collarbones. If I do this right. Oh, I already put that bead on. I'm like, why can I not find the bead? Because it was on my strand. I just hadn't moved it down to where everything was. So I thought I'd skipped a bead. That's how you end up with extra beads, friends. Because it's somewhere on your wire and you've moved on. Okay. Now, this is actually a good thing to mess with. So this hole on this porcelain bead is a pretty big size. In fact, it will not just eat the 11/0s, it's going to eat the 8/0s as well. So maybe this is where I get out my little bead caps because I can limit that size without distracting too much. They're just these little pretty flower shapes. Let's see how that looks before, oh, let me get a couple more seed beads on before we jump straight to that. Let's see how that looks. If we don't like that, then I will replace the bead caps with a larger bead. Oh gosh, that is pretty. I like that. I like that. Let me see if I can get the dish behind that so you can see it a little bit better. So the trick with this is that it is, because of the size of this bead cap, maybe I need to look at a different bead cap. Because the size of this hole and the size of this bead cap, if it shifts around, it can get caught like this. And I don't think I'm going to want that. Hang on, I will be right back. Okay, I found some larger bead caps that I think I like. I'm going to show you what we've got here. It is a 4-petal bead cap instead of a 5, and I like the 5-petal, but it does have the same rounded shape petal as we have on the flowers. So it's not an exact match, but it does cover that hole better, and it's not going to catch on the edge of the hole, which is the problem that we were having with the smaller one. So I'm going to continue on with these. And kind of play around with our pattern. See what we think. So this is the pattern coming off of the bale. I do like that better after I took out the 8-0 seed beads. It was just too heavy and too chaotic right there at the beginning. This gives us some of that, like, the detail that you get on these paintings, where it's like a really dark blue on the outline, and then with the little like mid-tone blues giving us color, and then the white space behind. This has that dotted feel of a lot of these patterns, and I like that. So I'm going to repeat this tourmaline and crystal pattern that we have created here, and that was the I think they called it Montana Blue crystal. Oh no, that's the tower beads. These ones are the, let's see, that's it, Montana Blue AB crystal rondelles. May vary slightly. I think maybe because I don't, this looks darker to me than what I think of as Montana Blue. I may have gotten a darker strand than some of you, if yours is closer to a Montana or mid-tone blue. That is definitely possible, since it says that it might vary a little. But I'm doing one of those, and then I'm just separating each of these with one of those kind of matte mid-tone. I'm not using any of the other colors in the seed bead mix, but I don't feel like sorting them out right now. I'll just grab them as I go. I'm just using the one color, and it seems to be working well for me. So we used some of the other colors when we made the bale, but then that makes that a special part. And then that hex cut crystal after the tourmaline, and then back into the tourmaline. So we're just repeating that. It is almost time for the reveal of the December box. That's going to happen over on the Didi Beads website. And at the same time that the December box is revealed, I'll be dropping a video. I'm going to go ahead and record that and have that ready. But at the same time that that is being revealed, the January box will be available for pre-order. So that's the process. That's going to be on the 12th between 11 a.m. and noon Eastern time, because that's where Didi Beads is Eastern time in Canada. I like that. I'm not actually using as many of these, but that's okay. I think I might want to use them more in the earrings anyway. I'm going to keep going because this is where, so if we keep 2 of those for the earrings and do 2 of those on each side, because we only have the large rice beads twice, so once for each side. So now if I want to do this, maybe I'll go ahead and bring in those other small bead caps back. Here they are. I put them away, but maybe we grab them. Just a few. That is more than we need. Because what if we used these bead caps on the 6mm right here, so it had kind of a moment. I want to see how much it covers up of the pattern. It might cover up too much, this size of bead cap. Because it feels lonely having that little one by itself. Maybe I need to do something different there because I can't repeat what I already did here. What if I did something with these on either side of it? I don't know if I'll use the bead caps, but I'm checking. Just to kind of fill that space a little bit better. Oh, I like that. I do like that. And it uses more of those gorgeous white crystals that I love. I think I like that. Up the side of the necklace. Gives us a little bit more variation pattern, pulls us a little bit farther away from the really dark, which we do have the dark, and I want that near the focal because that is also one of the dark blues. But I feel like this kind of gives us a little bit of rest from that. And I can do this again on each side at least one more time. So I'm going to continue on with my pattern. Going back into that crystal repeat with the tourmaline. Dropped my wire, but I didn't lose the bead. Thank you for joining me on my creative process. This is the way I like to create. I've had a lot going on lately. In fact, I will not be awake when the new January box gets delivered. I'm going to have to ask Becky to get it ordered for me. I'm going in for a diagnostic procedure on Friday, and I will be under general anesthesia at the time that goes live. So I really hope that I don't miss out on the January box. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I want to make sure that I don't miss it because I love the box and I do like to share it with all of you, and it's been fun to create content with. So, nothing major, just a follow-up from something that I had going on a couple of months ago, back in, is it in November? Yeah, it's been a couple of months. Just a follow-up for that, but I am going to be otherwise occupied. But this video, or not this video, my unboxing video that I'm going to do for it will be going live. We'll get that scheduled and everything so that you won't miss seeing that. but I do like to do a make, like a create something in the couple days leading up to the reveal day, so that I can remind all of you that if you don't want to miss the box, that you want to set yourself a reminder. And again, that's between 11 and noon Eastern time. These can sell out very quick, especially since she's resolved most of her shipping / tariff issues. So you definitely don't want to wait too long if it's something you're interested in doing. The January box, which is what will be available to pre-order, is, let me check the length of this. It is a surprise. So what you are going to get in the box is a surprise. And so if you order it and you receive it, just help keep the secret. Don't reveal the contents of the box until after the January reveal date, which will be January 12th. This is really close to the length that I like. And I am thinking, especially because I plan on using this chunky floral lobster claw, again, doing the floral thing. Oh, and this one's a 4-petal flower, so that doesn't feel as out of place. I am looking at this and wondering if I should have done one of these sets lower. But then that would put this more, so like instead of ending with this, that we had one coming off of this. You know what? I'm not going to have you guys watch while I completely restring that to test the look. I'm going to test it, and I will be back either with things exactly as they are right now or with that change being made. And then I'm going to show you how I do that on the other side, because I still have the other side to string. So I can show you how I change that pattern. I think what it'll do, it'll push this a little bit farther away from the focal, but it'll mean that I'm ending with one of these at the back of the neck instead of one of these. And I think I would prefer that. So I'll be back. Yeah, guys, this feels so much more balanced for a couple of reasons. One, I feel like alternating between the small and the larger and then back to the small is better than having all of the large things clumped together. I can end the stringing on this side with more of this crystal section, but also it's going to make a series of 5 of these in a row once I string the other side. And I think that that is going to be very satisfying to have that ring of 5 bright white crystals so close to the floral focal. Is going to hit that same kind of balance that we get from the Delft Blue inspiration that we're using. So like if you look at, for example, this with this, you can see that alternating blue and white and using the midtones to connect is definitely something that was done when they styled these. So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm just checking to see if I need to add a little bit at the back. And I think that I will. I'm just going to do a quick little series that has just the smaller of the crystals, just to add a little bit more space. So it'll be like a white, blue, white, and blue, and then white again with the mid-tone seed beads in between. And it'll just kind of taper off that design. So there's the white right there. And it just adds a little bit more space that's going to make this necklace fit a little bit more comfortably, but also look very elegant. Yep, I like that. Okay, I do have quite a bit of extra wire, so yeah, you probably don't need 34 inches. That's okay. Like I said, I'm not afraid of using my scrap wire elsewhere. So I'm gonna get out. I didn't show you my tools. I am using my flush cutter, and I'm gonna use a magical crimper, and I'm gonna use these 2x2 crimp tubes. And then for opening and closing jump rings, which is how I'm going to attach my clasp, I have some chain nose pliers. And I did, with this unboxing, I did a bracelet and a pair of earrings. I do kind of want to do some earrings with this too. So this might just be a little bit longer video, just because I have had to rework a little bit of my design as I was going, as I was experimenting and playing. So I'm putting on the crimp tube and I'm looping the beading wire back through it. I'm going to get 2 more seed beads on there just so I have a little bit of closing that. Yeah, just a tiny bit. I'm going to go ahead and put this on, loop it back through, and then it's important, especially because we're going to be up against seed beads. They're very small. They're going to want to get caught in my crimping plier. I'm getting a little bit of a curve on my necklace, so I make sure that it has good drape, but I'm snugging this crimp tube down, and I'm holding it with my thumb, and I'm pulling the tail to get the loop small. Like I said, I'll be using jump rings, so I don't need a big loop, but I do need some space between that seed bead and my crimp tube. And so I just put my thumbnail in there, and I'm going to be centering this. Let me zoom in a little bit. It's meant to be used with 0.018 to 0.019 inch beading wire. And this is 0.019 that I'm using, so it works. It only works with 2x2 crimp tubes, and it has this spherical concavity inside it. This is where we're going to be shaping the tube into a rounded bead. So you're going to center it in here. Make sure that you're clear of your seed beads and that you've got the loop the size you want it, and give it a little squish. And what it does is it pinches down the 4 corners of that crimp tube like a little ravioli. I know some forms of crimping require that your wires don't cross. This one doesn't, so I'm not stressed about the fact that that's crossed. I'm just going to take it 90 degrees from where it was, so it's straight up and down inside the crimper. I'm going to give it another little squish, and then I'm just going to open the jaws of those pliers and rotate it around. I'm rotating the strand, not the pliers. And I'm just going to keep giving it a little squish until I don't have any resistance anymore. And it will have formed itself into a nice little ball of crimp. So then I just take this and I snip it off. And just so that you know, I'm going to go ahead and do a little tug test here so that you can see that that crimp does hold regardless of if the wires were crossed or snipping off the end of the wire. It works just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and string the other side, and I'm going to show you what I did that changed the pattern. So you can see what I did here, but I'm going to go ahead and continue on this side. So right now it is still just the bare wire coming out the top. So I'm going to make sure I've got my 3 seed beads here. Oh, they are. I am zoomed. Let me zoom back to normal distance, move my pile of seed beads closer so that you can see when I'm grabbing them. And I'm just taking these and I'm putting on 3 of those blue seed beads, the mid-tone that we're using. And I'm just snugging it right up against that crystal that we used as our top bead. And then I'm just going straight into another crystal, because I'm doing this pattern here with the small porcelain bead. I've got a 5-petal bead cap. These are the small ones I first tried. They fit better for these smaller beads, which also have a bigger hole. They wouldn't be good to have seed beads right up against, because those will eat 11-0 seed beads. So, and then putting on the other bead cap. I have a little bit of silver in this, but I'm not going overboard with the metals on this one. I'm focusing on the blue and white. Okay, so we've got this, and then we go into that crystal pattern that we had established on the other side. And from this point, the stringing is going to be very similar to what you already saw. Since I am going to be doing earrings, it's going to be a longer video anyway, but I can go ahead and finish stringing this side now that you see what this focal area looks like. And you see what I mean about how nice that looks with those 5 crystals right there. I kind of love that. I kind of love that. It brings some of the white down closer to the focal area. So it really is a blue and white pattern. Yeah, I'm really, really liking that. So I'm going to go ahead and just repeat this crystal pattern just to remind you guys what it is. And then I'll go ahead and pause and string up the other side so that we can wrap up the necklace and make some earrings, because I do have an idea of something I want to do with the earrings, using a little bit of something from my stash. I have some links that are floral and I think are going to be really pretty for this. So I want to use those, but I want to dangle these floral porcelain beads from it. I think those are going to be some nice earrings. So just getting this on here. So we're just doing the same pattern where it's the dark blue faceted rondelle, the seed bead, the white bicone, the seed bead, the dark blue tourmaline, seed bead, and then the hex cut larger crystal. And then coming back down out of that same pattern, like just repeating, just mirroring it after the crystal, the big crystal. So, and then I'll do another 3 seed beads, the larger one, and then another repeat of the crystals, this grouping that we did down here, 3 seed beads, and then another grouping of the crystals. And I'll stop at the end of this crystal pattern just to review what we did here as we finished it off. So I'll get to this point here and I'll be back. Okay, I am back and I have most of this strung. As you can see, I've just duplicated the pattern on this other side, and then I've gotten through our established grouping of crystals and tourmaline. And then I'm just doing 1 seed bead. From there, I'm doing 1 seed bead, a bicone, a white bicone, another seed bead, a dark blue rondelle, another seed bead, a bicone, and then I'm going to finish with 3 more seed beads. Just using those same mid-tone seed beads, Silverline kind of matte that we've got here. They just seem to fill that need that we needed just perfectly. So then I'm going to go ahead and crimp this other side the same way as I did before. The only thing that I'm going to be doing differently this time is I'm not going to, because I'm not demonstrating it, I am not going to take it out and show you the ravioli. And I'll show you why in just a moment. So just getting it cinched down, pull that loop. I do want it to be similar size to the other side. There we go. And the reason, just making sure I'm clear of that seed bead, tiny adjustment. The reason that I'm not going to show you the ravioli is because I know that I made a ravioli. I don't have to see it. And I found that when I was learning to do this, it was easier for me to keep it centered, because it's important that you start centered, but also that you stay centered, if I didn't remove it from the tool. So instead, I just open the jaws wide enough to rotate that so that it's straight up and down like we did the first time, and then I squish. And then I just keep doing that as we did on the other side. And what it's doing is pushing down all of those edges on the tube so that it's biting down into the nylon coating. And when there's no more resistance, I have myself a little silver bead. That's a nice strong crimp. This is also very durable wire. It's why I don't use wire guardians. Just get close enough to snip this. It was being stubborn. There we go. And I do have some lengths of beading wire that are going to go in my little baggie where I keep the scraps. They are just over 5 inches long. So you could shorten the length that you start with down to about 24 would be pushing it. I think that you still need room to work the crimp. You might do 25 to 26 inches depending on how comfortable you are with the crimping and how much of a tail you want to have while you're working your crimp. So to make a similar size necklace. If you want a longer necklace, then yes, you definitely need to have longer. But this is the necklace. I've got some jump rings right here. I'm going to use a small one to attach the lobster claw to it. And then on the other side, I'm going to use one of the larger ones, just making sure that this is a good size for it, to be the loop that the lobster claw hooks into. You can also use like the loop on a toggle clasp that will add a little bit more length. There's different things that you can do for that. So I'm just going to open my jump rings, and I'm using the end, because it's flat, of my magical crimper as a second set of pliers, just because that's easy. Now, when I am wearing a necklace, I want the fiddly bit, in this case it would be the toggle or the lobster claw, on my right side because I am right-handed. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on there and get this closed. Don't need just a whole lot of articulation, just enough to get it on there and have that be a good hold. So that's fine for that toggle clasp. And then I'll go ahead and open up this jump ring and attach it just to the other side of my wire in the loop that I made. And then this necklace will be done, and we'll start on the earrings. So I will be right back with the components for the earrings, because this necklace is done. And don't worry, you'll get another look at the necklace here at the end of the video. But just to, whet your appetite, we've got this beautiful thing. Yep, okay, be right back. Okay, let's make a quick earring. In fact, I went ahead and put one together so that I could have it figured out to show you. So I have this beautiful link. It was in my stash, so I went ahead and used that. If you either don't have a link that you want to use, or you want a shorter earring, because this is a little bit longer dangly earring with multiple connection points that's got a lot of swishy sway, then you can eliminate the link and just have, I'm going to be making this link right here with you. I'm making it with parallel loops. You can just make it, or I'm sorry, perpendicular loops. You can just make it with parallel loops and do the same design just without the link. But I'm going to show you how I made it, because I'm making my second earring. So I've just got a pin, a ball head pin, and I've got 3 of those small bead caps. I'm putting one here down at the bottom. And then I'm putting in one of my 8/0 seed beads that's the same color as what we were using in the necklace, so that it can sit between the bottom petals on this porcelain bead and just have that little bit of peak of color. And then we're going to do another porcelain bead up here, and then I'm just going to bend over this wire. I'm cutting this. This is a stainless steel pin, so I am using some of my old flesh cutters. You can also use memory wire cutters. They're a lot stronger. I have a harder time gauging length with that, and I have some old cutters handy, so that's what I'm using, because these guys are already dinged up. Don't use your good cutters to cut stainless steel. All right, got that snipped. And then I'm taking my round nose pliers, which I did add some round nose pliers and some flat nose pliers for my tools, as well as the old cutters. I'll be using my normal cutters here when I make the link, because that's not stainless steel. But just roll that up, make yourself a little loop. If you want your flower to not spin, then you can wire wrap that instead. I don't mind it spinning. So that's a personal preference. My wire is being wonky. There we go. I feel like that got a little bit too tall in the neck. You know what? I'm going to curl this out just a little bit, and I'm going to nibble the end of this wire so that I can have a little bit less to work with and tighten up that loop. So, learned that from Becky, that you're not stuck with that. There we go. That's better. Get it closed the rest of the way. Getting some of that porcelain is not breaking, but it's kind of chipping around that edge where that seed bead is. It's fine. We're good. All right, and I am using 20 gauge. The label's worn off because I've used this a lot. It's almost done. I do have a spare roll. But this is 20 gauge wire from Softflex. It is a dead soft wire. If you're using a harder wire, you might do things differently. But what I was just doing is running this between my fingers to warm it up and smooth it out. And I'm going to show you the link that we're making. So for this link, we're putting on one of our dark blue rondelles. And then we're doing a bead cap, one of our 6mm porcelain beads, another bead cap, and then the dark blue rondelle. Okay. And then I'm just taking the end of this wire in my round nose pliers, rolling it towards me. And then when I get to the metal, I'm just opening my jaws of my plier, swinging it back like this, and giving it a little knock. And what that does is it centers that loop. So then I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna snip off about a finger's length down. It's gonna get one more trim, but I am cutting it with the flesh side towards the spool. That way the next time I use this wire, it will start with a nice flesh cut. And since this one's getting another trim, I'm not worried about it. So I do want this to be a perpendicular loop. So I'm holding this with the loop to where it disappears. And then I'm bending the wire to my right. And then cutting it down to about 1 centimeter. And then rolling this loop as well. Okay. And then now it's just attaching it. Oh, and this is why I have my flat nose pliers. So if you want to check your loops to make sure that they're perpendicular or parallel, put one end of a loop inside, or a link inside one set of pliers and then one in another. See how that's not quite at a right angle? Now it is. So these are perpendicular. While I'm doing that, I'm giving this link a little squish with both pliers so that it helps to work harden the loop that I just made. All right, now we're gonna assemble things. So the first thing we're doing is we are putting the drop on our link. And this link that I'm using does have a front and a back. If you're using a link, just determine if it has a front and a back. I like to put the back or the open side of my loop at the back of my link. Give that a nice little close. Okay. And then we've got this link, and I'm going to go ahead and open one end of it. And same thing, I want it to have the back of this at the back of the link. So here's the back of the link, here's where the loop opens. And then I'm just opening the other side right here. And I am popping an ear wire on. Again, this is the front of my link. This is the front of my ear wire. Just making sure that that all lines up. And now we have a pair of beautiful earrings with our gorgeous necklace. All the links to Didi beads is going to be below. Don't forget to set your alarm for between 11 and noon Eastern time on the 12th of December. That's this Friday, if you're watching this currently. And as always, my friends, happy beading, and don't forget to play. Bye.